Good morning, everybody. Hope you all are doing well today. I do want to mention first and foremost that I'm still recovering a little bit from an illness, so pardon me if I cough throughout this video. I hope I don't, but we'll we'll see how that goes. Do remember that your plans book is due on December 6th, which is a Wednesday. That will be up for next week. So please, if you have any questions, let me know as soon as possible. In addition to that, do also remember that if you want a little extra credit for a test or towards a zero that is part of, if you didn't complete a media flight plan assignment and you've got a zero for one of those, please let me know. And, we can work to get you done that exercise 16, which is on Dropbox, that you can turn it at any point in time to get a little extra credit for this particular activity. So be sure you're doing that, because I'm going over the grades right now, and there's a lot of people that are missing one or two of your media flight plan assignments, and that's going to be a little bit of a detriment if you're not doing those. So again, participation, or excuse me, not participation, but the kind of in-class and homework work that we do here is worth 20%. So that does add up. But again, just check through your as you learn, and double check if you've got any of those incompletes, especially if there's a zero for that assignment. I know some of y'all are still trying to make things up, so we'll work through that. But otherwise, just let me know, and like I said, we'll work through that for exercise 16. Okay, so some of you all have been asking me about reach and frequency and GURPS for the plans book, and I did want to address those concerns. I will mention right off the bat that GURPS can be a little bit difficult to calculate if you do not have the ratings or some of the impressions that the media kits or some software that a media organization would be able to give you. So a Nielsen rating, for instance, could give you that particular rating. I would encourage you to look to see which medium has what kind of GURP, or what kind of, if they have frequency. Some of them will actually plug in those numbers for you. But I do realize for a lot of you that you're working with small businesses, determining GURPS is going to be a bit difficult because, not everybody's going to list their impressions. Not everybody's going to list their ratings. So I understand that may be a little bit difficult. So what I want to do is provide an alternative in terms of things that you can do to help resolve this problem. And this is determining reach and frequency goals. So this is kind of a cool little... I would call it a PowerPoint. It's really not, but this works pretty well with the media flight plan. I was able to find this, and I'm going to utilize this a little bit to kind of talk about how to do this kind of as a novice media planner. So again, recognizing that we're not experts in terms of creating some of this stuff without the proper tools. So, I don't expect you to be able to grasp GURPS without the tools that are provided. So, and again, it's very difficult to provide a media plan without said materials. So, like I said, what I really want you to do is go through the goals, and this is, again, through reach and frequency. And if you can provide this, I'll be more than happy with your plans book in terms of that particular section, just telling me what you're looking for. So determining reach and frequency goals. First and foremost, we've got to determine reach. And this is actually something that can be located on page 48 in Chapter 8 of your media flight plan. And so this looks at your reach in terms of GURPS increase, your highest reach being 99%, moderate reach being 70 to 75%, lowest reach being 50 to 60%, and 50% is minimum for brand survival. This also can help you quite a bit in terms of your scheduling as well. And this is something that can be done through media flight plan, not only within the actual software itself that we've been working over for the past couple of weeks, but you will also want to take a look at page 49 in page 50 of your book, and it talks about not only the medium, but also minimum buy and minimum monthly buy for be able to purchase. So again, that's kind of what we're looking for reach in particular. The other thing to look at is through frequency, and when we look at reach and begins to plateau, frequency increases, still continues to increase. And so typically we're going to start around 3 when it comes to frequency. So this is through what we're going to call as Ostrow's model. And Ostrow's model works in 3 different places here in terms of marketing, copy, and media. So, excuse me, that's what I was talking about. Marketing, in this case, can look in terms of brand, can look in terms of share, can look in terms of loyalty, purchase cycles, etc. And you kind of have to look in terms of doing your own homework about where your brand sits within the market. Copy, on the other hand, looks a lot more at the creative end of your advertisement here. And you got to consider what some of those areas may be. And this is where this particular model differs just a hair from Media Flight Plan. I would recommend using Media Flight Plan for this particular one. And then media factors in terms of clutter, editorials, attentiveness, that kind of thing. So that's what we're dealing with Ostrow's model. And I'm going to kind of give you a breakdown for how to work through this. So with Ostrow's, here we go. You begin with a 3.0 frequency. So you start there and use questions in the model to determine the score to add, subtract from the benchmark. And once you have that, this is an estimated frequency for a media plan, and it's basically saying that this is the consideration for what we want to use in terms of making our frequency better. So we're basically saying this is where we sit. What are the things that we can improve on? What are the things that we're doing really well in? And so we use these questions to determine the score and add and subtract, and then we look into some of these things in terms of increasing frequency. Some of these you won't have control of, as in, you may not have a new brand. You may not have low market share. Some of these things you can't control. However, things like a pulsed or a flighted campaign. So when we look at pulsed versus flighted, we talk about the scheduling. So the scheduling in this case, we take a look at, is this something that comes over a repeated period of time? So, for instance, we're working with Ocean Spray, and we probably have a pulsed media plan in terms of working over Thanksgiving, because that's when cranberries are at their peak. In terms of purchasing, and in terms of Thanksgiving and Christmas. And so, and this isn't for any insider information for Ocean Spray. This is just kind of common knowledge of when people buy cranberry juice, as well as you can find this in terms of public domain online too. And then again, things like high ad clutter. Whereas, for decreased frequency, a continuous media schedule in this regard, and some brands will have that continuous media schedule where you would just say, okay, so I know a couple of you are working on one that works in a continuous manner, to where you say, we're just going to do this all year. So the schedule is going to work from January to December. We're not going to have any breaks. We're just going to keep doing that. And depending on your medium, you might want to do something like that. But it does decrease frequency in this regard. So I'm not going to spend too much time on them, but I am going to show you what we're dealing with here. So basically, you start at that 3.0 mark, and you either add or subtract based on what you're dealing with your particular brand. So, if I'm dealing with, okay, so your book uses Glacier Spring water in this case, and saying that we're working on a bit of a 4-point scale here. And for the Glacier water, it's saying it's a new brand. It has high market share. It's let's see, did they say it's yep, got high brand loyalty. Again, this is a little bit different. Purchase cycle actually is pretty good. Look at some of the others. They're all kind of one or two. So frequency usage, they're saying that pretty much it is frequent, not completely frequent or very frequent, but frequent enough. Need to beat competition. Let's see, you can see 2 here. And they're to an older target or children. So this was Glacier. And so at this particular section, they were at a 1.2. So again, the fact that they're a new brand, they have low brand share, they don't have much brand loyalty, which is a good opportunity in this case. Short purchase cycle, this isn't a car, it's bottled water in this case. Whereas, long purchase cycle means, for like a diamond or a car in this case that we mentioned before. Is it frequent? So again, same thing with these two right here. You're not going to be using it as much as you would, you're going to be using bottled water a lot if you're purchasing it. What's their share of voice, etc. So again, I'm not going to say too much on these definitions here. Whereas they mention in this particular case that their copy is mainly in their is pretty simple. So if it's low message complexity, the message will be very simple. If it's more unique than the competition, it's better every campaign for this regard. And, if they haven't been doing much on their campaign and they haven't been doing it differently, it may be a minus. In this case, they wrote it as a minus. If it's continuing or versus is it's new, so is it something that they build a great, unique idea or what we would call a big idea, and do they continue with it? Or is it something that they keep doing something a little bit different? So think of Geico. Geico a lot deals with different campaigns consistently, even on top of other campaigns they're working on at the period of time. We can look at product-focused messages in this case in terms of combination of image and product. A single kind of message if they have a high continuing creative strategy. Wear out here in terms of copy is fresh and new in this case. And then ad units and saying a large advertising unit versus a small one. A larger one would be a 30-second versus a 15-second TV spot. And in this case, they actually had a -5 for Glacier water. I don't know why I'm having problems saying that word. Media factors here. So we deal with marketing, we're dealing with creative, now we're dealing with media, and we're talking about how the kind of clutter in terms of what's around, where are they advertising. You all have done this in terms of your competitor analysis. When we look at editorial settings, this is looking for limited opportunity for related editorial. Do they have, when it comes to journalists, when it comes to fans, are they favorable or are they neutral in this regard? You can even post this as negative as well. And again, this can be an opportunity one way or the other. Is your attentiveness high? You might have low involvement in this case, or you might have very high involvement. Are you continuously advertising? Are you doing pulse? How many media vehicles are used? So again, this is kind of up to you in this regard, but in terms of looking at what they've done so far. And high repeat versus low repeat. Again, do they have strong media repetition versus do they mix it up quite a lot? So these are kind of opinionated. And you can see here that every single one of these will be a little bit different, but you got to do it based on your brand specifically. So Glacier Water, in this case, has a benchmark of 4.1 because they had, I'll show you right up here, 1.2 for marketing factors, a -0.5 for creative, and a 0.4 for their media. So again, their benchmark is 4.1. So you can put that benchmark, and I'll be more than happy with that in your plans book. This is just showing me that you're kind of understanding the material here. And with this, you can look at some of the things in terms of what you might want to do for media scheduling and what you might want to do in terms of promoting something a little bit differently within your plans book. So you can see in terms of optimizing reach or frequency, this is kind of the route you might want to take depending on, again, what you have. So again, check your chapter 8 for any directions with regards to placing this into your plans book. And again, if you can't evaluate GURPS, if you can't evaluate reach, if you can't evaluate frequency, use your Ostrow's model, and that will be more than sufficient for that particular section. So I hope this helps. I hope this will alleviate some worries and issues that some of y'all have been expressing to me over the past couple days. I hope that this will be a manageable project on top of what you're doing already. And, again, feel free to email me, keep me posted, and, I can look to make another video this week in terms of, trying to help out where I can. So thank you all, and have a great day.